Smells Like Teen Spirit, and this is Kurt Cobain remembered. Unless you've lived in a hole over the last few days. Last Friday it was announced that Kurt Cobain had taken his own life, the lead singer of Nirvana, and over the next 2 hours we're going to celebrate the man and the music that changed the world.
That's right. And what's interesting is that we've had so many responses from our viewers who are such fans of the music, and they don't want to talk about what we lost, we want to talk about the music that we have. So that's what we're going to do in the show. And as far as suicide goes, we're going to do a whole separate show specifically dealing with that issue. It'll be an upcoming Real Deal, and we'll discuss some of the sadder moments. But right now it's a celebration, and what we've done is we've raided our video vaults. We're going to play you all the interviews we have with Nirvana, but not just all the videos. We're going to play the entire thing, unedited, coming up in the show. Also some all the videos from Nirvana, and some never-before-seen live footage from Nirvana, all coming up. So let's take a look now. We go back to our very first interview with the guys, Nirvana.
Now, are Nirvana still a punk band?
Well, I like biorhythm machines, and I put my hand in one, and it was a pretty punk readout. It cut my hand.
I said, Lord, you're so punk.
Well, no, but I mean, does that term still apply to you guys, though? Or you know, have you?
So I don't think we've ever been labeled as punk rock in the first place. We just played in the underground circuit. We like punk rock more than any other style of music, so yeah, we're punk rock.
Well, I think everybody was sort of into punk rock before the band really evolved anyway. So it's definitely everyone was sort of bred on the punk thing.
Okay. Now, I'm sure you dislike labels, but then where do you see that your music fits in?
In rock and roll.
But isn't it this
pretty wide?
I think what did they call it before, the sub pop sound?
Oh, the sub pop sound.
That's right.
Yeah. Grunge.
Seattle.
I can't decide.
Seattle sub pop grunge.
Okay, but see, the sub pop thing wouldn't apply anymore, though.
Why not? There's still a label.
You guys aren't on sub pop now.
Well,
So? We're DGC rock now. We're DGC hardcore.
DGC hardcore.
You found the...
Right.
And MCA in Europe and Canada.
Right.
We're MCA.
We're
punk.
MCA here too?
We're MCA.
Yeah, we are.
Okay, now, again, like I realize you guys dislike the labels, but I mean, it's still a case of,
No, we love DGC. What, music labels are labels the way people label people of race, creed, or color, national origin. Brother, we're all here on this floating sphere through space.
Okay, but this is a little bit different, though, because I think to a certain extent, people that are out there want to know because it helps them decide whether they like it or not, right? I mean, yeah, that's not necessarily a category thing, but it's still like...
Well, we like to say that we're the Black Sabbath molesting the Bay City Rollers, or the Knack, maybe.
Okay, well, that was something else.
No one would like us at all.
That would be something else I wanted to ask you guys about. Now, you mentioned the Knack and the Bay City Rollers. Are there aspects of those bands in your music, and where are they?
Fashion-wise, it's Bay City Rollers all the way.
Yeah.
We don't have any plaid on now, but you just wait till we go on.
There's going to be this inverted plaid cross. Just going to be with Ozzy Osbourne with a woody shag cut crucified on it.
Okay, now were you guys fans of those bands? Seriously?
No.
Well, I like that.
I despised the Bay City Rollers when I was 9. I mean, my sister liked them, but I didn't.
How about the Saturday Night single?
But I like them now. I have all their albums.
You like them now?
Yeah.
Okay, because I guess you guys also talked about how you're a pop band, and yet I wonder how many people would really describe you in that way.
Well, a lot of people do, just because the songs are, they may be really heavy, but they have some sort of melody to them. I mean, they're like poppy songs, but we're not like a pop band, but I don't know.
Papa don't preach.
Papa don't preach.
Pop music.
Pop music.
Yeah.
Okay, now how do you feel though about the crossover into the metal market?
That's fun.
Fine.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we could, a few of those kids, they could go from worshiping Satan to being studious and alternative. And some of the alternative people could be like smoking pot on their Camaro hoods, hoods of their Camaros. It'll be a Camaro hoods. It'll be a trade-off, yeah. It'll be join forces, unite all potheads and bookworms. Come together.
Okay, now.
That's our rally cry of our revolution.
Get off that soapbox.
Now, one of the things I was reading though, you were being interviewed in a metal magazine, and one of the members of the band wasn't very happy about that.
Who said that?
Who said that? I didn't do it.
Is that a pubic hair?
I didn't do it.
It's curly and crinky. Oh, I don't know. Where did you get that? Who sent you?
What planet are you from?
Are we going to be able to get anything out of this interview?
Oh, we are. We're talking.
This is no front.
This is no front.
Hey man, we ain't.
We are. Well, I don't know. You know, a lot of heavy metal is I don't really care for a lot of heavy metal. You know what I mean? A lot of it's just kind of, but, I mean, to each their own, right?
Okay, but then I guess the fact that you're then appealing to that market, or you're having fans of those bands come out to see you guys, that doesn't bother you, or that's something you'd like to happen?
Oh, we'd like for that to happen, sure. People could come in and check our band out, and why not?
Well,
It's not like we're against...
you know, if the people come and like the music, then that's fine.
I remember-
If they come and think we're a heavy metal band, you know.
I remember one time I went to this show in Olympia, and the Melvins opened for this, like, heavy metal band, and all the punk rockers and stuff, you know, the metal people just gave the Melvins a bunch of pahooey. And then when the metal band came out, the punk rockers who came for the Melvins, they got into the metal band, but it seemed like the metal people kind of freaked out. They were weird. I don't know what it was. Maybe
that
something
was
they
quite a few
ate.
years ago, too.
Yeah. Now there's
Now that Metallica are wearing Misfits t-shirts, I think it's had a big impact on metal.
James Hetfield gave the legions of rockers the okay to like punk rock, so it must be okay now.
Something 92, you heard Teen Spirit being played everywhere. But when I finally got the record and listened to it myself, and just, you know, heard the great surge of anger and emotion there, I thought, oh, no wonder this clicked with teenagers. It's loud, it's angry, it's noisy, it screams of frustration. It's the perfect teenage anthem.
I'm here to talk about the death of Kurt Cobain because I think his death was a great loss to the music industry. I think we lost a great songwriter. He will be missed by our generation.
I think if there was a John Lennon type figure for the so-called Generation X listener, the kids, young people in their teens and 20s of today, it would be Cobain.
Nirvana put out a record that did nothing, and then the next record was an explosion. It was tremendous, and he was thrown into this thing. And I know me, I don't like my pressures at all, and we're not even a fifth as big as Nirvana is or was, sell as many records. I don't like pressures of having to do this and that and having to spread myself so thin everywhere. So you never know what's going on in that guy's head, you know? He could have been spread thin, hated his life. And you know, everything he ever wanted to achieve probably in music, he probably did achieve, or maybe he didn't, you know, didn't want to achieve.
If it wasn't for Kurt, there would probably be no Pearl Jam, Stone Temple Pilots, Soundgarden, or any of that movement, which is, you know, hitting the charts at #1.
The whole underground scene's like coming to light because of like Nirvana's success, and like everything's just, you know, regular radio stations will play bands like us now. Right. It's like, I mean, 2 years ago, nobody would have, I mean, it wouldn't even have been considered. They would have heard that and they would have just laughed and said, are you kidding?
He's a music fan, he loves music, and he can, if he wants, he can push a band a bit more into the mainstream by giving them help, and that's really good. It's a really honest way of bands kind of getting projected and seen by people. It's really good.
She's overboard and selfish. Oh no, I know a dirty word. Hello, 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 hello.
I think if you listen to like Nirvana.
We love that record. It's great.
If you listen to that record, you can see a real feminine. I mean, that record's selling incredibly, and grunge is taking over, and it's a teen revolution, and we're all very excited about it. But I mean, the thing is that it's really feminine. You know, it's very compassionate songwriting, and it's not metal posturing. So it's not even a gender-specific thing.
I think it's great, you know, to see bands like Nirvana coming out and blowing everybody's perceptions away of what the music business should be. You know, everybody's like going around wringing their hands, going everything, it's all screwed up, it's not the way it used to be, and that's how it should be.
I remember what I was doing when John Lennon was shot, but it's not the same, man. It's like a part of me, and it's a lot more personal. I'll never forget where I was or what I was doing when I first heard, "Here we are now, entertain us." And I'm sorry that he didn't want to stay with us.
Well, yes, you're watching Kurt Cobain Remembered. This is 2 hours of Nirvana and Kurt Cobain, the music that certainly did, if not change the way that radio and record companies or the industry look at quote-unquote alternative music. It certainly opened the doors for other such bands to follow. Some of the stuff that you're watching you probably haven't seen before. Some of it comes from a club date in Amsterdam at the Paradiso from November of 1991. We happen to score some of that, so I hope you're enjoying it and enjoying the rest of the show. As I said, we're showing you all the stuff that we have in Nirvana in its raw entirety. So now we're going to go, I think, to one of the first interviews we did with 1991 at the Opera House right here in Toronto.
Being on a bigger label, are you guys involved, like, I mean, there must be meetings about marketing and stuff like that. Do you guys have any say about that stuff, or is it just something that you just leave up to the label?
We have final say, but we don't go to the meetings.
Yeah, they're really boring.
You can imagine, it's like going back to school, you know?
Yeah,
we sit that out.
And those fluorescent lights hurt my eyes.
So how have things changed for you guys now, being on a bigger label?
We get to be on MuchMusic.
Yeah.
You could have been on MuchMusic before if you had
Really?
shown up for the interview.
We're never late now. We're always on time. We're prompt.
We bought watches.
We brought watches. We have tour managers now. We don't get up at 1 o'clock in the morning. Because last time we were here, we were like just us three, you know, driving around. We get up whenever we wanted. Hey, man, that's a pretty long drive to Toronto. We better get going. Like, yeah, shut up. And then we're like, show up as if we're ready to go on.
Okay, now you recorded your album with Butch Vig. Now, why did you choose him for the producer?
Because we'd worked with him before, about a year ago. We attempted to record our album with him. It turned out really well, but we were in the middle of doing the Sub Pop negotiations, trying to get out of that contract on DGC, so it just seemed like the best thing to do, you know, to work with someone that's familiar with us still.
Okay, you had done demos with a few other people, though, as well, hadn't you?
We did the demos. That's what he's talking about.
Yeah, those
Butch.
are the demos. That was attempted an album.
No, but I thought there was other producers. You guys did a few demos.
We worked with Jack and Dino. That's about it. Nobody
we
else.
talked to other producers, but we never did any demos with them. Yeah. So.
And was there stuff you'd heard by Butch before you'd worked with him that kind of decided it, or?
Yeah, it sounded really good. There was like Laughing Hyenas and Killdozer, pretty crunchy, meaty stuff. And we thought, yeah, we'll try this guy out. So we did the demos, and then nothing came out of that. So we called him again, and he flew down to L.A., and we all flew to L.A. And we drove to L.A. Well, we drove to L.A., and he flew, and we made this record. Took us about a month, and Butch is really hands-on as a producer and engineer. You know, he's just totally in it all the way. So he's so easygoing and stuff too.
Now the first one was recorded. The first one was recorded fairly quickly. Now, were there certain things you set out to do differently this time around, or?
It was just an entirely different set of circumstances this time around. You know, entirely different set of circumstances. What did we set out to do different? It just happened.
It's a different studio.
Yeah.
And different producer and
you know
different,
what we did?
different state.
Different state. We just did that whole major label go to Hollywood and record a record thing, but we didn't get stuck with some goofball producer. We got the producer we wanted, you know, and we don't really have any regrets about how it turned out. We think it turned out great and what we did, but I think next time around we're kind of going to choose a different path because it's such a well-worn path. I'm going to trot off the beaten track.
What's the different path?
Different path. Religion. No, we're going to record in a church. No, a different path. I don't know. I think we might record the next record as we go along, right? We might record it on a boom box. We might record the record like in an airplane bathroom because of the dynamic acoustics. Just depends, you know. We did our go to Hollywood, just like I said, we did that go to Hollywood trip. Maybe we'll record in somewhere else. Maybe some natural, we're recording some Greek theater somewhere in Greece, like the Acropolis or something. Whoa.
Okay, now the first one was done more or less as a live thing. Yeah. So this time around, was it consciously like a studio effort and away from the live sound?
No, I don't think the first album was live. I mean, we recorded it in the studio. Yeah, we did overdubs.
We did record it like basic
tracks. We overdubbed all guitar and vocals and
it was done in like 4 days, or I don't even forget how many days. Under a week, 3, 4, 5 days, something like that. $600. You know what? When we were mixing it, we were really sick, and Kurt went down to the health department, and he got these codeine cough syrups, and we were just popping those, and we were just like in la-la land. And then we were like hands-on producers, just cooking on this codeine joy juice. I think it had a big effect on how that record turned out. That's the honest truth.
show in Much, where talk to
You do what?
a book show.
Oh.
Talk to different people about favorite books that you've read and how it's inspired you, or what you learned from it, or something like that.
Mhm.
So do you have a book that that comes back to you every once in a while?
Yeah, well, I've read Perfume by Patrick Susskind about 10 times in my life, and I can't stop reading it. It's like something that's just stationary in my pocket all the time. It just doesn't leave me, and every time I'm bored, like I'm on an airplane or something, I read it over and over again. Because I'm a hypochondriac, and it just affects me. It makes me want to cut my nose off.
What's the book about?
It's about this perfume apprentice in France at the turn of the century, and he is disgusted basically with all humans, and he just can't get away from humans. So he goes on this trek, this walk of death, where he goes into the rural areas where there's woods all over the place in the small villages, and he only travels by night. And he just, every time he smells human, like a fire from a far off way, he'll just get really disgusted and hide, and he just tries to stay away from people. And I can relate to that.
Do you ever use what you read in any of your songs?
As a matter of fact, I use that very story in Scentless Apprentice. Yeah. So that's really one of the first times that I've ever used an actual story, as a book, as an example of a song. I've always tried to stay away from that, but now that I'm running out of ideas more and more, I tend to do that.
Is it hard when you spend your whole life doing the first few albums, and then suddenly everybody needs your attention, you have to do interviews, you have to travel around, and suddenly is it hard to come up with ideas?
I don't know. I've just noticed that people expect more of a thematic angle with our music. They always want to read into it. And before, I was just using pieces of poetry and just garbage, just stuff that just would spew out of me at the time. And a lot of times when I write lyrics, it's just at the last second because I'm really lazy. So, and then I find myself having to come up with explanations for it, So I thought I'd, prevent that this time and actually have an explanation for some of the songs at least.
There's a lot of baby references in all the songs. I didn't think there would be, but you have like wombs, babies, baby's breath, baby throw up, baby
throw up?
Baby, there's baby everywhere. This is obviously has become a huge part of your life.
It has been a part of my life before Courtney was even pregnant, though. I've always been just fascinated with medical texts and charts, and I guess I secretly want to be a doctor or something. I don't know. Or a person that works in a cremation factory. I don't know. I've always liked anatomy. Ever since I was a little kid, when I first got that little model of the Invisible Man, or the Visible Man, it's just something I really like. And since I've become a big rock star and made a bunch of money, I found this place in the Mall of America in Minneapolis that sells nothing but medical stuff. It's a medical supply store that they've offered to the public. It's really great. I bought all these fetuses and anatomy men and charts and stuff, and it was like a dream come true. Because I've always been really poor, and if I could find something like that in a second-hand store, I'd barely have enough money to buy it. And a lot of times I couldn't buy that stuff, so I just went on this rampage of buying all this stuff. And I think I've overused it, for like pictures for the album, and I don't know. I just went overboard on it.
The old saying that you can't buy happiness. You think that's true?
Well, yeah, you can't buy happiness. I mean, that made me happy for a little while. But, I mean, I was just probably almost just as happy with, I don't know, I look back on going to secondhand stores and stuff like that and finding a little treasure like that. And that actually meant more to me because it was more of a stab in the dark in a way, because you didn't know if you're going to be able to afford it, and you don't know what you're really looking for, and when you find it, it's more special to you rather than having $1,000 and going into a store like that and just buying the whole store. It's not as special.
because you've achieved so much success, I mean, so quickly, so surprisingly, you've had a baby, you're married. What excites you now?
My baby and my marriage. I don't know. I still like playing too. I mean, Chris and Dave and I haven't changed at all. I mean, believe it or not, we get along just as well as we ever did. You know, we're just as the same passive aggressive people as we used to be. You know, we never fight. And when we're pissed off at each other, we just hold it under our breath and have respect for one another in that way. You know, it's easier to work that way. You know, because we have a mission, I guess.
You're watching Kurt Cobain Remembered, and this is a 2-hour retrospective look at this man's career, his music, and the impact he's made on the music of the 90s. Now, as you probably have seen, we're showing you absolutely uncut footage of some interviews that we've done with the band. For myself, when I interviewed Kurt Cobain in Seattle last summer, when the album In Utero was released, it was really insightful for me to meet him. He was charming, he was articulate, he was open and honest, and seemed very happy, which for me is all the reason more why I mourn his death. We're going to continue now looking at some of that exclusive uncut interview footage, but first of all, never before seen footage, Nirvana live in Holland. whole grunge thing, that this, in quotations, grunge, all I want to know is, where did the term come from?
I have no idea. I think some of the rumors are that Jonathan Poneman said it one time sarcastically, and it just caught on.
Who's that?
He's one of the head honchos at Sub Pop Records. No one set out to market this music as that. That's what happens when the main media, the media catches on. They have to call it something. I like it as much as new wave. I would have been proud to be a new waver, 15 years ago.
Oh yeah, well, we were about the same age. I was into new wave, absolutely. Do you think you
Me
have
too.
some of the same, is there anything the same between your music and new wave?
I think so.
Like what?
Well, new wave was just a progression from punk rock and a mutation of punk rock, and it was more commercial and more palatable, It had, punk rock roots, and it was easier to swallow for the media and middle America in the middle of the world, and it's just, that's what I kind of think about our music.
Are you worried about a Nirvana backlash?
Hasn't that already been over with? Hasn't that already happened? I don't know. Sure. No. I don't know.
Okay. What else I want to talk to you about?
But we're getting more new wave as the days go by. I think we're going to reinvent new wave and bring back breakdancing. I'd really like to bring back new wave and breakdancing, meld it to something. I don't know. That's what our new music is sounding like. We're using a lot more effects boxes, and we haven't resorted to skinny ties, but I think our music's, this album's like the closing of the chapter of the formula we've been using, It's like grunge is really kind of boring for us, It's something we can't deny, and we're not going to stop playing the old songs live. Whoops. And, but, our tastes are just changing so rapidly that we're really experimenting with a lot of stuff, and it might get too indulgent and be really embarrassing for the next album, but we can't put out another album, and this is just like the last chapter of three-chord grunge music for us. And it was an easy thing to do and a safe thing to do because we knew it's still popular, but we had to get it out of our systems.
How come you are so nice, and you seem so comfortable with yourself? Something must have really happened in the last couple of years. Is it just falling in love?
No.
What happened?
I've always been a nice guy.
Maybe you were afraid to show it before. How's that?
Well, I don't know. You've never met me before.
I never met you before, but I know that other people who have had the opportunity to interview, and they said, oh, he hates doing interviews. He's not going to want to talk about anything.
Well,
I said, well, whatever. Who knows? And you're just like exactly the opposite of...
It just depends on what mood I'm in, really. Yeah, I'm kind of a moody person, and a lot of times when someone has had the chance to talk to me, I've probably been on tour, or I've probably gone through an exhaustive time where I've talked about myself for hours and hours, and this week I haven't had to talk about myself very much, so
Lucky
probably
me.
more cooperative.
I think one of the interesting things about Nirvana that you don't really talk about that much is that you're very concerned about sexism. I like that. That's good. So, how do you make people aware of that problem?
By writing songs as blunt as Rape Me. Having to resort to doing something like that is almost embarrassing because people didn't understand when we wrote a song like about a girl or Polly, and having to explain that and having misunderstandings about it, I decided to write Rape Me in a way that was just so blunt and obvious that it's like no one could deny it, no one could read into it any other way, although some people have actually, because some of the lyrics in it, some people have thought that maybe it has something to do with my disgust with the media and the way they've treated us and stuff like that, but it's not true. That's not what the song's about at all. It's just my way of, in a sarcastic way almost, of like just saying how obvious do we have to be, And I guess we don't talk about those kind of things that, you know, that are really important to us because I don't want to be thought of as like nothing more than a PC band, you know. I mean, we're entertainers. You know, that's what music is, and so it's really hard to, you know, step over the lines, you know.
It's that you have so much power because that camera's on you. Right, you can use it.
Yeah, well, we try to use our power. I mean, we really have been effective in certain ways, like being associated with this organization called FAIR, and I can't remember right now because I have a mental block of exactly what it stands for, but it's something like, shit, I can't remember. but they're an organization who looks at the injustices that are, they look at the details that surrounds certain issues and certain stories that have been reported in magazines and newspapers like USA Today, who tend to, you know, look over a lot of the facts, and they're pretty much a leftist organization that tries to protect people in certain areas, you know, and they supposedly try as hard as they can to, you know, to deliver the truth. And so, you know, we've done benefits like that for like No on 9 benefits to try to stop Portland's anti-gay laws that they were trying to pass, and we did a Bosnian benefit and stuff like that. And, you know, it doesn't seem like much, but, you know, we raised like $50,000 for the Bosnian rape victims, you know, and that's a lot more than we could have done griping about it and talking about it in interviews and like maybe putting out a fanzine. You know, there's nothing wrong with doing stuff like that, but, you know, we're using the tools that we have, you know, and we're being effective as much as we can. But we still don't want to be too political at the same time, you know, because it's just kind of embarrassing to do that. Or, you know, you get a lot of ridicule for it.
Yeah, but you're doing what you believe in, and that's the most important thing.
It's hard not to, you know. I mean, if you're put in this position, what are you going to do? You become a Republican or something? You know? Just to protect what you've earned, big deal.
You have left behind a precious being by the name of Frances Bean. She will never grow up without a father. She will now grow up without a father because of your selfish act of committing suicide. And for that I am angry at you. But I know in time she will grow to forgive you, and so will we all. You have meant something special to us, and we will never forget that the wonderful music you have left behind for us to remember you by. I just wanted this chance to say goodbye, for I never got the chance before.
Okay, now with the cover of the new record, is there a certain concept that you guys are trying to put across with the cover?
It's open for interpretation. You know, think about a baby swimming through water, dollar bill on a hook. You know, that's the fun part of it. Decipher. Maybe a person could find a new way of life. So we were speaking of paths. They can take off their clothes and bite into a fish hook in water. See how that feels.
Well, I sort of thought it related to the band, though, this is sort of your first jump in the water towards the huge bucks and all that.
Right on. Now, see, okay, well, I never thought of that. Well, there you go. That works, too. See? It's open for interpretation.
And that's the whole idea? You guys don't like explaining anything to do with your music or to do with what you're doing?
Just like Ricky Ricardo said, "Splain, Lucy, splain." Lucy never did. Ricky!
Now, okay, now why don't you like talking about it, though? What's the problem with going on camera and just relating a little story to do with it?
There's nothing to be said. It's all in the music, man. It's all in the music. It's all in the meat.
You don't think that people that are fans of you would like to hear what you had in mind, maybe, or what you were?
Hear what they have in mind, you know,
Yeah,
or
like
how
what you
they
just
interpret
said. I
it.
mean, that was so cool.
Yeah,
But
I'd like to get some letters. This is what my analytical
My
idea is,
personal
what your
critique.
lyrics are about. You know, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, man.
You know what we do is we get all drunk and we get in these heavy philosophical conversations. What we are is we're pothead philosophers with no type of studious background or anything. We just...
Okay, so what's your relationship now with Sub Pop? How are things with them?
Well, we get along with those guys. I mean, we stop by and say hi. That's about it, really. We're pretty much off the label. We're on DGC. DGC does all the work.
No, there was a Sub Pop logo though on the first single or whatever.
Yeah, it's gonna be on the record too. It's a contractual obligation. Basically, that's it.
Okay. Now, there was a little bit of bad blood at first though, wasn't there, when you guys were leaving?
Yeah, it was. I think a lot of that was lack of communication and assumptions, but now we put all that behind us now and we just get along. Because there's no reason to bear a grudge, right? Forgive and forget, huh, brother?
Now, are you going to come back after a certain period of time and do like a freebie single or anything like Soundgarden did, or?
A freebie single? Just like my Uncle Jim said, nothing in this world is free. But, I don't know, we'll probably do something like that. It's always fun to release things. Maybe we'll just go and release something, you know. Maybe we'll record a record with people on work release. So, see, because if they want to get on work release, you have to have a job guarantee. So they'll get out of jail that way. So we'll just like guarantee them a job and they'll get out of jail. We're out to help our friends.
Actually, scratched into the runoff grooves on the cat butt 12-inch was something about if the man from Geffen shows up, shoot him in the head or something like that. Do you guys know anything about that? No?
No.
No, it was something I discovered just recently. I thought it was really ironic.
First time we heard of it.
So it's a cat butt single that came out a long time ago?
12-inch Sub Pop thing.
It came out a long time ago?
Yeah.
Maybe they had a bad experience with somebody at Geffen.
Well, I just wondered if Geffen had been sort of around trying to sign up other Sub Pop.
Geffen tried to sign cat butt, huh?
Okay, so now we've just got a brand new video from you guys. And does somebody want to tell me about that, or you don't want to explain that? It's just there for everyone's own interpretation. Who'd you do the video with?
Napoleon. We did it with Max Baer, TV's Jethro, on the Beverly Hillbillies. Oh, it was Sam Baer, wrong guy. Well, this guy, this video takes place in a high school gym, and it's like a crazy pep assembly. It's plumb loco.
Okay, now why'd you use that song for the video, first single and all that?
Well, we just kind of said, hey, we were asked, what songs you guys wanted to put out first as a single, and we just thought about it. Oh, I say this song, oh, I say that song. And we thumb wrestled, and we thought Teen Spirit. Let's do Teen Spirit as our first single.
Now, isn't Smell Like Teen Spirit, isn't that from a deodorant commercial or something? Is that where you guys got it from?
No, we didn't get it from we found that out later. No.
Yeah.
Pure coincidence.
It is pure coincidence, yeah. It's such a big world, you know? It's a small world. It's kind of a medium-sized world. Like if you put the planet Earth between Jupiter and like Uranus, which is really small, it's like medium.
Okay.
Did you know that the biggest star in the whole galaxy universe is as big as an atom is small? Did you know that? Isn't that wild? That's more pothead philosophy.
I figured as much. Now, in between the last Sub Pop thing and this album, there seems to have been a lot of bootlegs released. And I just wondered how you guys felt about.
We don't mind the live stuff. That's fine.
It's just when they start bootlegging stuff that's unreleased and wasn't intended for release in the first place. That's when it starts getting kind of hairy.
So you actually prefer the live bootlegs to actual studio?
Sure. Well, they always sound like crap anyway. I mean, whether it's live.
Whoa! Into the interview?
Here's our
okay.
All right. That's it. We're at music. One by the Canadian government. Is it national? Yeah. Well, thanks a lot, you guys.
How do you
personally cope with having relationships, private relationships that are always being scrutinized publicly? It must be really difficult.
Well, it is, but I mean, I still have a lot of the same friends that I used to have, so they don't seem to mind, and that isn't ever really exposed too much, you know. No one writes about how me and my friend Dylan walked down the street and, you know, did whatever, but
Yeah, but they rip apart you and Courtney. They love to do that.
yeah, I don't know why, but you know, we're just I don't know. I guess like my ego could be talking right now, and I could say, well, we're interesting people, you know, but I think we're just easy scapegoats. It's just, you know, it started with something, and then, you know, people just pick up on it and carry it along, and we turn into cartoon characters, and there's nothing I can do about it, really, you know. I can threaten to sue and, you know, try to you know, bring up libel laws and stuff like that to people that write shit like that about us, but, you know, if you've ever looked into that, it's pretty much a lost cause. You have to have a lot of money to do that. And, you know, I could spend the money that I earned last year all on fighting the Vanity Fair piece, you know, and they'd end up winning because they have more money, you know. So
There's a magazine in Canada that incorporates itself for each issue, and then it goes bankrupt on each issue, so that it could write whatever it wants, and no one could ever sue them.
wow, that's a pretty smart thing to do.
Yeah, it is.
That kind of reminds me of how a lot of stations in the States got a hold of our new album, but it was like someone had anonymously sent them like 5th generation cassette copies of our new album, and in order for them to play it, they started on the weekend at 5 o'clock, like on Friday nights. That way they could play it throughout the rest of the weekend without having a council, you know, sue them. And oh, that's kind of smart, you know.
It's free publicity for you anyway. Ultimately, the album's going to come out.
That's true, but the thing is that there's been so much controversy about how bad the record sounds, you know, and how lo-fi it is. And to hear it like that compared to all the other songs that were on the radio that night, it really disgusted me, and it pissed me off because it sounded terrible. It sounded really, really bad. And then everyone that heard it that weekend is going to say, yeah, you're right. Okay, the stories are true. The Nirvana album really sucks, and I'm not going to buy it, you know. So it just kind of bothered me, but we took care of it.
What'd you do?
Well, I thought maybe we should hire a lawyer to stop them to do it, and then instead I just decided to hire a hitman.
Pardon me?
Nothing. Erase that. No, we just called them up on Monday and told them to stop.
And they went, oh, okay.
Well, our lawyer did that.
Isn't that a weird world for you to suddenly have lawyers and, like, people who do stuff like that for you?
Yeah. It's totally unnecessary, too. If we weren't in this position, we wouldn't need lawyers, you know? It's total unnecessary, and we have to spend a lot of money just to protect ourselves all the time, and it's just stupid.
When did that first hit you? When did you realize that you're going to need some people on your team to protect you from the vultures?
Too late. You know, much after the fact, after we'd already been damaged to a point where it, you know, almost didn't do any good, you know. But, I don't know, it was just a weird realization one day, you know. Wow, I have to, you know, and I can see how, like, rock and roll stars will all of a sudden, will almost compromise their music to make sure that they sell the same amount of records next year because they've spent all their money on lawyers and protecting themselves last year, you know. But, I mean, we obviously haven't done that. I mean, I don't know, maybe you might not have noticed, but the record isn't as commercial as the last one, so. We could never bring ourselves to do that, you know. I'd rather just laugh about it. And
I was talking to Amy Mann, a girl from Till Tuesday. She was at her office just a couple days ago. She's on tour with the Kinks, and Ray Davies was in the office also. He came in before her. And I had mentioned to her that he was very nice, but really eccentric when I was talking to him, kind of nutty. And she said, well, you know, there's a lot of people who have been around the record business for those many years, and most of them are kind of nutty. It just, you know, it makes people nutty.
Yeah.
I mean, you're facing that. That's your future.
Yeah, that's my future. Hopefully we'll put out Metal Machine music next year, you know. I don't know. Either I've accepted it or I've gone beyond insane to where I can deal with it emotionally. I really don't care. I know that I'm too stubborn to allow myself to ever compromise their music or, you know, get so wrapped up in it and involved to where it's going to, you know, turn us into big rock stars. I mean, I just don't feel like that. Everyone else accuses us of it, but, you know, we're not as popular as everyone thinks, or we're not as rich as everyone thinks, you know? It's just, we've always had a good sense of humor. I don't think that's been translated very well, you know, but we'd rather laugh about it. Ha ha ha.
You know what really surprised me, though, is you're pretty bright, and your lyrics are, and just your whole stage persona is pretty angry, angst-ridden, frustrated. I mean, you see the world for what it is. I mean, did you ever have second thoughts about bringing a child into the world the way it is?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah. I really can't describe what changed our attitude so fast. I think, you know, I really was a lot more negative and angry and everything else a few years ago, but that had a lot to do with not having a mate, you know, not having a steady girlfriend and stuff like that. So you know, that was one of the main things that was bothering me, that I wouldn't admit at the time, you know. So now that I've found that, the world seems a lot better for some reason, you know. It really does change your attitude about things, you know. I mean, 4 years ago I would have said, you know, the classic thing like, you know, how dare someone bring a child into this life, you know. It's just completely a terrible way to go, and, you know, the world's going to explode any day and stuff like that. But once you fall in love, it's a bit different.
think it's a great tragedy that a genius such as Kurt Cobain was driven by society to do what he did. Just basically destroyed all hope I have left for the world we live in, society and humanity in general. All the people that are saying, oh, he's a role model to all these kids, look what he had going for him, his wife, his son, all that. I mean, that's just, you people don't even understand depression at all, so you have no basis to make statements like that.
It was a waste, a big waste.
Such a beautiful artist.
Yeah, he was so beautiful. I mean, like, I don't know, he brought happiness to everybody in his music.
Yes.
And
He's a babe, too.
Yeah, he's a babe.
Get to meet anyone who would be like your hero? Anyone that you're real pleased that you got to meet?
Yeah. That's kind of a positive side of being a rock and roll star. But no, actually I met Iggy Pop before we were rock and roll stars. And Iggy Pop is pretty much the only person that I've met that I really, really admire and like. And
when you met him, were you pleased?
Yeah, it was a big excitement. I mean, it was great. I didn't ask him for an autograph. I tried not to bother him the way that I thought that I might be bothered, but I don't know. And then the other person is William Burroughs. I met him, and I actually got to put out a record with him. So.
Hey, tell me about the record that you're doing with William Burroughs.
Well, it's already out. It's just a 10-inch. It's just one story of his, called The Priest They Called Him, and it was a long-distance recording. He had recorded his version, and then I just played a bunch of guitar noises in the background, and they mixed it somewhere else, and it came out. And now we're talking about putting out a whole album.
Wow.
Yeah.
Of him reading his work and you playing guitar underneath?
Yeah, I think I'll play a bunch of instruments this time, instead of just, fucking off like I did before. You know, it was just a last-minute thing where I just made a bunch of noise, but this time I'd like to kind of work on it. Maybe I'll do a Muzak version.
I'm sure William Bros would love that, a little bit of music. Let me just make sure I have all my questions asked, and this is one that Tori Amos, did you like the cover of Smothers?
Well, it served a purpose because we used that as the opening. Before we came out, we'd play that song, and then we'd come out and dance to it, do a little bit of interpretive dancing to it. Yeah, it was nice, yeah.
The last thing I want to ask you about is, I'm not sure who in your band said it. It could have been you, could have been someone else, but someone being a little perturbed by your mainstream audience and wanting to just make music for your real fans.
Well, you know, a couple of years ago when we were making these bold negative statements about things like that, you know, we were really confused, and we were scared, we were afraid that we would lose a lot of our audience that meant a lot to us, because they're people that, you know, we hopefully feel that we have a connection with, you know, the college students and people in the underground. And I don't think we've lost them. I think they're still fans, so I'm not worried about it anymore. And I was at the time.
Okay, we're almost through our tribute to Nirvana and Kurt Cobain with about 15 minutes left. I just want to tell you, on May 2nd, we will be doing MTV Unplugged. That is the acoustic version of Nirvana. We'll also have some more stuff on Nirvana and Kurt Cobain after the show. Unplugged.
Absolutely, and one thing that we haven't really addressed is the fact that Kurt Cobain took his own life. A lot of people are saying that this is a symptom of what's going on in society, and we like to deal with that in an upcoming show. The Real Deal, hosted by Master T, April 24th, will deal with depression and how young people are coping and trying to cope with it. So please take a look at that. So we're going to wrap up the show right now with the look at Kurt Cobain after he passed away. But first of all, here's a taste of what you can expect on The Real Deal.
Some assignments are tougher than others. This is one of the toughest. This is attending the Kurt Cobain Memorial at Seattle Center. Some 10,000 people in this area. It used to be the site of the World's Fair, right underneath the Space Needle. And they've come here out of grief and frustration, some of them out of anger. Anger at being abandoned by one of their heroes. But everybody came for one reason, to pay their respects to Kurt Cobain. And yes, there were eulogies. Yes, there were people from all walks of life. Whole families were here. But it wasn't until a tape was played from Courtney Love that literally the place and time stood still.
I don't really think it takes away his dignity to read this, considering that it's addressed to most of you. He's such an asshole. I want you all to say asshole really loud. I haven't felt the excitement of listening to, as well as creating music, along with really writing something, for too many years now. I feel guilty beyond words about these things. On our last 3 tours, I've had a much better appreciation of all the people I've known personally and as fans of our music, but I still can't get out the frustration, the guilt, and the empathy I have for everybody. There's good in all of us, and I simply love people too much. So why didn't you just fucking stay? So much that it makes me feel too fucking sad. Thank you all from the pit of my burning, nauseous stomach for your letters and concern during the last years. I'm too much of an erratic, moody person, and I don't have the passion anymore. And so remember, and don't remember this, because this is a fucking lie. It's better to burn out than to fade away. God, you asshole. Peace, love, empathy, Kurt Cobain.
What else should I be? All apologies.
Everybody getting together here is a very important thing, to let a lot of stuff go, and to show each other that there are other people feeling the same way that you feel.
My friends and I were talking the other day, and we were thinking, comparing Kurt Cobain to Jim Morrison, just because he kind of got the Seattle
into the light.
into the grunge. He's the one that kind of got Seattle on the map. Yeah, and it's he was just a great performer, and he was really good in concerts, and he had this great music, and now all of a sudden he's gone.
You just got to move on, you know. It's a tragedy, and it is a tragedy, but you got to move on. You got to think about what he did do, and not what he... You got to think of his musical talents, what he did, and just don't think about that tragic morning whenever he chose to take his own life.
Kurt Cobain has killed himself, and we are left as survivors to make sense of this death. There is anger, there are feelings of sadness. We don't understand why. And the difficult part about suicides are that the answers are taken away with Kurt. He knew the whys. We don't all know all the reasons.
On behalf of Dave, Pat, and I would like to thank you all for your concern at this time. We remember Kurt for what he was, caring, generous, and sweet. Let's keep the music with us. We'll always have it, forever. Kurt had an ethic toward his fans that was rooted in the punk rock way of thinking. No band is special, no player royalty. That's the level that Kurt spoke to us on, in our hearts. And that's where he and the music will always be, forever.
I was really angry at Kurt Cobain for what he did, so I came to mourn the loss of Nirvana, more or less. I'm still angry.
Sounded like Courtney was angry too.
That really affected me a lot. That really influenced how I feel about this, and I'm glad I came down here and heard it.
Yeah, I'm really kind of worried about Courtney now at this point, you know. I mean, she's had a rough time with the media before, and I could just see that a lot of people would make a field day out of this. So I hope she looks out for herself.
Who do you think's come here today?
I think people that are just looking for some place to be where they can share their thoughts with friends and other people that understand. I guess it's sort of a way for the community to say goodbye.
Well, it's a rendition of an old Christian song, I think. But we do it the Vaselines.